said before, our hearts go out to the employees and their families. It's not easy being on the picket line, and the conclusion that we would like to see is that both parties resolve the situation and go back to the table as quickly as they can.
The Honourable Lisa Raitt, Minister of Labour, spoke with the CIW, spoke with company officials, and then also spoke with the Mayor fairly recently to let them know exactly that the federal government had deep concern as to what's going on. But clearly this is a private matter. It's a labour dispute between the union and the company. I think there is an opportunity, because it is a provincial jurisdiction, to have the Premier come down and say what he wants to say. I think these are questions that should be very properly directed to the Premier and to the provincial members of Parliament. I think, to me, that's very, very clear. I think Susan's quite rightly said, our hearts go to the workers who are just scared as hell about their jobs, and I think we all get that. I think the issue is, here's the point. This strikes me as total blame transference. This is a point where someone is trying to shift the blame of an inability to do a deal and try to shift it over to someone else. And that's the part that's not appropriate. It doesn't make any practical sense from anything that I have seen. From our standpoint, we want the sides to get together. If I had my choice, I'd put the company and I'd put the union in this room right here. Well, if our friends here would let them do it, lock the door and don't let them come out until they've come up with a deal. That's what I would like to see happen. But quite frankly, when the calls for the Prime Minister to get involved, let me make it clear. Do you not think that if it was as simple as Prime Minister or me or Susan or anyone else making a call, that we wouldn't do that to help try to move this along? So for anyone else to suggest that it's that simple, frankly, doesn't appreciate the sensitivity of the labour negotiations that are going on. We all want the same thing. We want to be in a position where the company and the union meet and come up with a resolve that's in the interests of the workers and the interests of London.
There are people standing outside. Do you think, though, that this is a message you'll try to get through to them today? Will you speak to them at all if they're waiting for you?
I have no issue meeting with them at all and saying a few words if they're willing to listen. What I'm not prepared to accept is haranguing and harassment. Frankly, that's not appropriate, not necessary. I've had representatives, and Susan has very recently, representatives of the CAW in our office who provided very thoughtful commentary about the situation. I think it helped us understand better their circumstance. That's the way it should be. It should be a civilized dialogue, and I think some of the ballyhoo that went on at Victoria Park this past week was unnecessary, callous and rude. We gave, or any monies, we gave Caterpillar no extra dollars. We've had a general corporate tax break that's impacted all corporations effective January 1st, but that's something that's right across the board. So there's no connection between the two. And for anyone to suggest, as they have in the past, that there's some kind of causal connection between dollars given to the company, well, I can't tell you what the province gave, so that's a question you'd have to put to the province. And I would ask the media, because what I'm not hearing is where's their ask of the Premier of Ontario? Where's their ask to the two ministers from London, Ontario? Ask them what's going on. I haven't heard that kind of feedback, because I think from a jurisdictional standpoint, for someone to be able to make that call, and again, quite frankly, I'm not totally certain what they can do. I do know the Premier of Ontario has offered a mediator should the two sides come together. Has he placed that call like our Minister of Labour did? But she did it genuinely out of deep concern. And frankly, when she spoke for our Conservative government. That may not be good enough for some, but frankly, when it's not even your jurisdiction, that's quite a bit.
Is it getting to the point now where you just want to get that message out and say, look, it's not in our backyard. It's not that we don't care, but it's someone else's.
Well, the frustrating part, and I think my colleagues feel the same frustration here, is that there's some general impression that the Conservative government, the federal government, doesn't care about the workers. Well, oh my God, we're talking about London, Ontario, and we're talking about a city that's gone through very significant unemployment because of the impact on our manufacturing sector for over the last few years since that huge recession that's impacted the world. So do we care? We absolutely care with our hearts. And as I said, if it was as simple as making a phone call to do that, we would do that in a heartbeat, which is why Lisa Raitt, our Minister of Labour, did exactly that.
How do you respond to that as a publicly elected official in a city that's undergoing a crisis here?
I think you're right about the crisis of employment statistics that London is going through, and I think you just need to look at the 9.8%. I won't be clever and say that we've got 90.2% employment. I think that for the 9.8 that are sincerely and desperately looking for employment, I think that anyone with a heart has to say how tragic that is for them, and it really is true. As far as Caterpillar and its circumstances are concerned, they purchased that company back in September of 2010. You'll probably know that. And look, I don't know what their intention is, whether to ultimately move the plant, close it, and I've actually kind of swung a couple of ways on this. At one point I thought that was directly what they intended to do as a company, and now here it is. It's a few weeks and a bit since January 1st, since the lockout started, and now I'm kind of coming to more of a view that maybe they don't want to go. So it strikes me that still what you've got to do, you've got to put these two parties in a room, lock the door, and don't let them come out until they've solved the deal. I can tell you the CAW does not want to preside over the largest cut in wages and benefits in the history of their union, and this company, who has other options, it looks like, as a result of their Indiana plant, amongst other plants, has some choices to make as well. I just sincerely hope that the sides will get together and make it work.
It needs to change. That absolutely needs to change.
I think the biggest issue to me is how soon and how practical can we get the union, and can we get the company together. I said earlier today at a prior session, if I had any chance at all to put people in a room, the company and the union, lock the door and don't let them go until they solve this thing. That's what I would love to see happen.
The company's not talking. They're going through a PR firm.
I think what's interesting, though, is that EMD either has a real intent to leave, or they don't. If they have a real intent to leave, nothing's going to matter. But if they have an intent to stay, I think that's where the opportunity, the potential is for something to happen. Somebody's got to blink at some point.
You can't say nothing matters. I mean, that's a huge tax base.
Well, listen, I'm just being practical. You try to challenge me on the words, so I'm just being sincere with you. You know what they'll do? They'll hire people. They'll invest in equipment. That's the kind of thing. And I tell you, as a business guy, and I came from a business with 160 employees, and it does matter. Now, mine isn't the largest company, but I can tell you it was a significant company.
And I've been a plant manager.
Okay, so you understand that.
And I understand that that's
Good.
not the case.
Well, then,
when these people are sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars and not spending it, and as you say, saving it for a rainy day, and another organization.
I did not say that.
Well, I'm telling this. Okay, you didn't say it to me just now. So people are sitting on this money, not spending it, and/or it doesn't exist. You have corporations robbing pension plans, taking back from workers. These workers at EMD, for example, bargaining their pension.
Are you an EMD employee? I'm just not
I
sure.
said I was a public servant. No, I'm not.
Okay.
No. So, and as a public servant, not you, but the provincial government's coming after my benefits and bargaining openly in the news by saying zeros and zeros. And you're balancing the books on the backs of public sector workers. The feds are doing it too, and also on the backs of workers. And by increasing taxes and/or other things, and cutting services. What do you say to cutting services to these people in particular?